Today on our spotlight interview, we have Tavares Gooden, former linebacker for the Miami Hurricanes, San Francisco 49ers, Baltimore Ravens, and Houston Texans. How are you today, Tavares? Thanks for being here.
Hey man, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. How you doing today, Rock?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm doing great. Awesome. Let me just start with our first question here. We're going to talk about your football career now. Coming out of St. Thomas Aquinas, what was your ranking out of high school as a position and overall?
I was in the top 5 at every recruiting level that there was. But the difference was I played defensive end. I wasn't a linebacker. You know, I didn't have any interest in stand-up linebacker. I just love hunting. It was not a lineman who I thought that was quick enough to stop me. You know, I played against Derek Morris and Randy Hanna in high school and a lot of other guys, and they always kept saying I was undersized. And then you look at the guys now, you know, who I played with also, like Antoine Barnes and even DeMarcus Ware, and you had the other guys, Freeney, and look up, you know, guys who weren't 6'6", you know what I mean? And I was like, man, if I could have just had an opportunity to stay at defensive end, who knows? Because I was rated. They didn't have a rating back then. You know how it went back when we were coming out. But I was rated among the top 2 most dominating defensive player on one Sporting Review, and also on one Rivals, I believe, it said I was the most dominating defensive player in my day. So, you know, and those are great accolades, things I never knew until you finish the league. And then somebody's like, man, you see this article right here? You go, wow, man, those are some nice words they said about me, even though I had no clue what was going on. So, long story short, I love rushing the passer, and I was rated pretty high as a linebacker, and that's where I'm going at it with it. They rated me as a linebacker and not at a true defensive end. As a freshman in high school, I had 22 sacks. Like just crazy things like that at the defensive end spot.
So you were like a werewolf, just coming off the edge, putting your hand down, and
full speed, just letting me go. Like it was like Javon Curse, like how, you know. And actually, my freshman year was Javon Curse's rookie season in the league, and how ironic I wore 90. I was supposed to have 23 that year, but a lot of things happened, and I finally ended up playing varsity as a freshman, and the only number left was 90. So I wore 90.
You were like the freak on the edge, like Javon Curse in high school. He probably was a player that you really kind of like admired and like, you know.
Oh, I love that's like, because I had no clue what I was doing. Playing Little League, that's why I'm coaching my son now, to teach him the fundamentals, you know, because fundamentals are the little things are what create giant things, that create magnificent things. So that's what I'm doing with my son. I'm taking him to the little things. Forget all the tackle and just throwing them in there, because I was just throwing the tackle 7, 8, and 9, and I quit. You know, I quit those years. I didn't play until 10, until my mother died, because I told her I wouldn't quit anymore. But going back into that, you just look at everything that can be taught. And so for me, I want to teach my son. So now the things that I weren't taught, because all we were taught was bull in the ring, hit. I was an offensive lineman in Little League. You know, and you played with me in college, and a lot of people playing with me in high school, and it's like, man, the way I started to make and play when I got to the University of Miami, because I saw the players doing like Sean Taylor, but I could have been a mold like that, like a DJ Williams, you know, you know, I could have been something totally different, but God bless SC's soul as well. But those guys, those kids were taught at a young age to be great. They were taught that they could be running backs, that they could be safeties, that they could be Andre Johnson. You know, that guy was a freak of nature, you know, and I had some of those same athletic abilities, and I go, man, like, dude, if I would have played offense, I probably would still be playing NFL today, how the rules are. So I'm teaching my son now, I'm showing him, hey, man, you're going to be big and fast. Calvin Johnson, another one, big and fast. Like, back in the days, that wasn't something that was brought up in the NFL as a specialist. He probably would have been a defensive end or something. But the way that the game is played and the way that you can teach your kids, that's what I'm doing. So that's what I'm doing with him. But long story short, to go back to what we said, I play offense and defensive line and Pee Wee football. So that's what I thought I was. And I get to high school, they're like, son, you don't play those positions anymore. So I came back, and I also played running back. in high school as well with 90 on. I toted the ball pretty good. At one point, I was leading the Broward County in the weeks in touchdown. I had like 6 touchdowns by like week 5 or 4. But you just put me in. I was a big guy.
Yeah.
But looking back at it,
You're probably
yeah,
like
exactly. I had all the tangibles to be a high school running back.
running up hot. Were you running down low? Were you dropping the shoulder? Were you juking guys as a
Oh
running
man,
back?
I was coming at the contact. I loved the contact. Like I would run at guys, and we always joke with Nate Sally. I got Nate Sally one time. We played St. Thomas, and Nate was, I was on my first squad before I went to St. Thomas, and before that time, man, I came through, and Nate was there, and then next thing you know, wham! I want to say we were in practice. Yeah, we were in practice, I believe. And we were getting ready for the season. That's what it was. So we were in practice, we're getting ready, and I was at that running back, and I gave Nate a little something, man. But that's who I was as a running back. I wasn't the guy who would avoid you, but I look at my son and I look at what I'm coaching because I also coach as well. And man, like the difference is like I wish I had somebody to teach me the things that I'm teaching them because just to avoid, like I had so much more moves like that I could have done, like because now you think about it, any great athlete's a triple threat. So if you got somebody who can beat you with speed, power, or a move, like that's a triple threat. And so all I had was just one threat, and I just wanted to lower the boom on you, and that's because I played offense and defensive line. But then I made a conscious decision. I go, I was competing. This is Florida football now. I'm competing against David Marrero, guys who run 10 flats in the 10. And we're not talking about the 10. I'm sorry, the 100 yards. We're talking about the 100 meters. So these guys are running 10 flats in the 100 meter. You got Justin Montgomery. He'll shake you out of your kneecaps. Little guy. He played at Davie. This guy is another. You got all these running backs. Another guy, Antonio Tharp. You have a guy, Dominic Anderson, who goes to Wake Forest. So St. Thomas has just all type of running backs. And they go, son, you can come over here and play running back and compete, or you can just go over here on the defensive end and you can start. And I go, well, no brainer, duh. So I go over there on the defensive end, and it just clicked, man. I was a force because of the way I played Optimus, because of playing offense and defensive line. I was a force, and it was great to do that, man. My parents, it was great. My mother passed away when I was 10, but it was great to hear my father cheer at the games. Like it was a lot of special moments through sports because I had a lot of sad moments, and I think sports really gave the other moments back to me. The special moments, the family moments, because you develop a brotherhood when you play in sports. You develop also mentorship. You develop so many things when you're playing sports. So, like I said, man, what was that, Rock?
We say that all the time. It's the time of our lives with the football and playing the game and the relationships that you have.
Man, and you don't realize it until it's done. And then once it's done, you go, man, that was actually not such a bad group of people. Like I can joke and laugh and play boat races and do all these things, like that we did and come out of it and, to talk about it and go, wow, like, man, that was, at the time we were hoping that it would go because we're not understanding that, man, one, we're getting the best conditioning of our lives, which, man, Andrew Swayze, I could talk about that guy forever. He changed my life forever. Just taught me that, man, you don't have to subdue and listen to what science says or whatever they say the body. Like he taught me that you can do way more than what you think you can do. Like you can have out of body experiences, think your heart's about to fall out, which we thought a few of our guys were gonna, their hearts are gonna fall out. We had to call the ambulance and stuff, and we look back at that. But the people, that's how hard he pushed you. He pushed you to that limit. Like that's what sports does, man. It shows you that, man, you when you think you're done, when you think you've had it all, like when you think that you done gave every little bit that you have, you still have more in the tank. And that's what he showed me. And so from that point on, there was times where I probably shouldn't have been playing, with a hip sliding out, in the NFL, or there was times when I probably could have been playing, shouldn't have been playing with my shoulder hanging out 10 games in the NFL, but because of the training that we went through. So we talk about one, high school. High school was great. College, the preparation by that strength coach, man, that's who I really would say, you know, in my personal opinion, if you look at Miami, he has to be talked about. He brings the attitude, like he brought the attitude out of me. It wasn't the coaches. It wasn't the coaches.
Andrew Swayze, our former strength coach, Andrew Swayze, very special guy, very special coach in our lives. That's amazing. Yeah.
He, like I said, he was that guy, and it wasn't, you know, certain coaches taught you how to play, you know, and showed you where to go, but he brought the attitude, the will. You know, that was the first time that I had been tested in that way. You know, to run the big circuit. People don't even know what the big circuit is. Man, the big circuit, people used to wear their headphones like they were getting ready for a national televised game, and this was just a summer workout. You know what I'm saying?
Man. I know. I remember the
hills,
the hills, the tropical park, the 110. I mean, some of the circuits. I mean, the training that we went through was like top notch. I mean, to get through one of Swayze's workouts, it was like insane. You know,
he was the Marines of college football. Like if you
every warm up, we were like, you know, you better be ready. Like if you come late, I mean, you had to be accountable. Everybody, like, we feared Swayze, but we loved
and late
Swayze.
was 16 minutes early. If you were 16 minutes early, you were still late.
Swayze time, he called it. Yep, and we loved that. He had his own clock, and you came 15 minutes early. And yeah, I think he really instilled a lot of greatness in all his players, and he's a big inspiration. Well, let me get to my next question here. Was the University of Miami, was that your first choice in the recruiting process?
I had a few choices, and, you know, for obvious reasons, I always tell kids, man, go to the team that like you the most. So there's a lot of other teams that showed more interest in me. But at the time, I just got into a little NCAA trouble. That was when Maurice Claret was talking about different things. And obviously, Ohio State was at the top of my list because Nate Sally had went to Ohio State out of St. Thomas Aquinas, and I was going to go there. And, you know, Michigan State was high. They were going to actually let me play running back at Michigan State that year, and all their coaches had got fired. So I was going to go to a school where I was going to go and perform. You know, Miami is definitely a school that I said, you know what, man, they're there, but I wanted to go somewhere where I was going to be just the guy. And I think the Ohio State made me feel that way in every way possible. I took a visit there. Long story short, after that visit, I silently committed. And I was like, man, you guys you've shown me enough. Like, I'm a Buckeye. I silently committed, mind you. Like, pay attention to that. So next thing you know, I fly home on the plane. I get home, everybody's like, man, bro, you going to Ohio State? You silently committed? I say, what? They's like, it's all in the paper. So I said, what? I thought a silent commit means, you know, it's just between me and you know what I mean? And next thing you know.
They announced it and then it became public.
Man, it was everywhere by the time I came off the plane because I had like a red-eye flight. And so by the time I got off the plane, I had people, NCAA coming, wanted to go to my high school to screen me. Everybody, like, because if it would have stayed private, I probably would have been going to Ohio State. But when they made it public, what I found out is that the NCAA isn't like just it's not just a company. The NCAA is all the presidents all together. They form the NCAA. They're the board. So let's say you say you're going to Ohio State and you got Florida State, and Miami there. They're like, oh, what's going on? All it takes is a few people to come on that board and question that. So I'm sure that's what happened. You know, like I said, I was the most dominant defensive player in Florida, and they had been losing guys at Ohio State left and right and out of the country and out of here. And somehow my name popped up, and I got shaken up, man. I got rattled by the NCAA. And honestly, I didn't want to lose my scholarship. I didn't want to lose anything. Like, I didn't want to go into death penalties and all that stuff. And then Claret, he was coming out because he wanted to try to go pro, and then he starts, man. So, man, I was under a big microscope, man. Like, I had a huge microscope on me.
And so back a little bit, and You
Man,
got to
from
make
that
quick
point, Rock,
decisions.
Miami came in. They said, "Hey, man, we're not going to offer you anything. We're not going to give you, anything, but we'll make sure that you make it to the NFL." And Coker and Shannon came to the house, and I was kind of, I was like, man, I don't know, man. Like, Ohio State seemed to like me a whole lot more than this, dude. This, you know what I mean? Like, you could just feel that vibe. But at the end of the day, it was about security. My dad was happy, like, when, he wanted me to stay closer. But he didn't understand. People don't understand when you take a visit. Like I said, man, forget hometown, forget all that. Man, go to the team that wants you the most. Because what's going to happen is, now if something happens to you there, like injury or whatever, they're not going to put you on the back burner. Like, you're going to be a priority to that team. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were so many other teams where my brothers, they went to other schools and things happened to them. But, like at Miami, it's so competitive. Like, it's so competitive. But don't get me wrong. Like I said, like, that made me who I am today, and I wouldn't be the person. Like, I wouldn't be the strong person that I am today to be able to get out of situations if it wasn't for the youth. So, yeah, life would have been,
It's the players that make the U special, and we're just so blessed to have you part of the Miami family. And I know you had that tough decision. I almost went to Penn State myself. I was getting recruited by Joe Paterno, so I know the process. It's a tough decision, but yeah, you have to like really follow your heart.
Your heart, and like if you're on that level where you could be an NCAA violation, because that's what I was, man. NCAA basically told me I couldn't go to Ohio State. It's like, if we catch you doing anything, but there were 4 people that came to St. Thomas Aquinas to ask me how my visit went. And basically, I got caught up in a whirlwind because Nate Sally went there and Chris Gamble went there, and I didn't know that people who give that host are stipend a certain amount of money, and I said that nobody did anything for me, and they were like, wait a minute, they're supposed to have money for you to do stuff for you, and I had to tell them that we did do stuff. So I got caught in this whirlwind because they basically outsmarted a 17, 18-year-old, which, I mean, to be honest, it wasn't like they were outsmarting, but I was just on a hot seat. You're talking to somebody who's 17, bro, who just got 4 people in black suits, and your whole livelihood's on the line. So at the end of the day, I decided not to go to Ohio State because I was shaken up out to go to Ohio State. Like I said, the whole Maurice Claret case was huge. And so when he said that stuff, what he said, and then I got interviewed next because I was about to go there. So they like, hey man, like what's going on? Are you getting, whatever he's getting? Because I mean, he told a lot. And so at that point, I made a decision to say, man, I'm gonna go to Miami because I'm not gonna be in this light there. Like, I'm hometown. Like, I'm not gonna be in this light, and that's gonna be it. So I go to Miami after that. And like I said, man, I love it. But you got to understand too, like when you from that area, you want to be somebody who stand out as well. And man, to watch Frank Gore, to watch like DJ Williams and Velma, like you just know that they had their own tradition. So me, somebody went from St. Thomas, I wanted to build my own tradition as well, and kind of, and that's what it really was, because I'm like, man, like these guys, how those guys, I want to play as a true freshman somewhere. I'm good enough to play. And Ohio State had a position for me. I was going to be at defensive end. Miami, they had me playing stand-up linebacker. And it was tough, man. So, but like I said, whatever doesn't kill you, make you stronger, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Shannon, so talk about that transition that, you come to Miami and Randy Shannon, our defensive coordinator, he moves you to stand-up linebacker. How did you feel about that position change? Because I know that happens a lot of times in college football. I mean, you hear stories about guys going. I mean, Eric Winston went from a tight end to a tackle. There's guys who go from quarterback to wide receiver. The positions change in college. So how did you transition into being an outside linebacker?
It was tough, man. Like I said, I've actually played three fingers in the dirt, hand down, 3-point stands, rush the passer type defensive end. So to stand up, it was tough. But in any situation, and those guys, they came in and probably willingly changed the position because it was the best for them. Me, I was kind of like, you don't have a choice. you have to play stand-up linebacker. And I didn't know this till I signed and got there down there. I'm thinking I'm going to be 52 rushing off the edge. I'm going to have this opportunity. And they were just like, no, like, cause the guy, I want to say his name was, Nate something. My man, I forgot his name. Please don't hate me, Nate. But Nate was a great player out of Miami. Nate Harris. Nate Harris was supposed to go down to the U. He was a linebacker. And something happened with Nate, and he didn't get in that year. Then Leo Waiters didn't get in. And then Ali Highsmith didn't get in. And then it was like, Shannon was like, you got to play linebacker. And I'm laughing at him like, I'm laughing at him, Rock, like, dude, I'm the number one player in the state. No, I don't have to play linebacker. Like, I don't have to do anything. So,
you know what Shannon wanted to move me to? Fullback. He thought I could play fullback in the NFL.
You probably could have, bro. Like,
I know. I ended up being offensive lineman, but I mean, it is important. Like
with Beeson, John Beeson, that guy was moved from safety to fullback to linebacker. Like,
yeah, and it was a move that helped your career because you ended up getting drafted at that position, and then you were a great linebacker. I mean, you were outstanding. You're one of the greatest linebackers of all time at the University of Miami, which is an amazing accomplishment. And let's just talk for my next question. Let's talk about you played in the All-American game in high school. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that was a fun experience.
Yeah, can you talk about that experience, just representing the United States as an All-American in high school?
It was a great honor. I think that was the second year it was ever out. I was the first out of St. Thomas to go there. So that was another achievement. I was just like, man, please don't be the guy who gets like broke off on TV. Like I said, I'm super humble, man. I think that everybody may think what they think. I never thought I was Jordan, guys. I thought I was Dennis Rodman. You know, I was the guy who was wild, who was going to wring him by the neck, just, you know, was good enough to maybe take the spotlight, but never wanted it. The spotlight just so happened to be there when somebody else was there. And that's who I was. I was that person, man. And like I said, going into that game, it was a lot of factors, bro, being on national TV. High schoolers weren't on national TV. Like, this was the first time for a lot of stuff. So a lot of people don't understand that. Now we broke the mold for rivals because we had the Nike camp. Nike camp was like the first thing that started. Like, that was the way to get everybody stats. So we were the guinea pigs for all of this, our generation. Next thing you know, the U.S. Army All-American King comes out. They're like, it's going to be tough. I'm like, what? It's going to be ESPN? We're going to play on what? You know, I'm pumped up because, you know, the only time you played on ESPN or anything like that back when we were growing up was college football. That was it. So for this game to be nationally televised, I'm just thinking like, dude, like, I just hope I don't get embarrassed. Like, my name's on the back of my jersey. They're going to know who I am. So I get there, Rock. Same type of thing. I'm thinking I'm playing defensive end. They give me number 90. They give me 90 when I go to the game. So I'm thinking I'm defensive end. They did the same thing they hit me with. Hey, there's not going to be a lot of linebackers here. In fact, not a lot at all. It's only going to be like 4. We need you to play linebacker. I was like, what? I was like, dude, I came here. I flew to Texas from St. Thomas to not get embarrassed. Now you're going to tell me my first national TV game, I have to play stand-up linebacker. Then the running backs on the other side, mind you, is Reggie Bush and Lindell White.
They were in that game too. So you were in the game with Reggie Bush. Who was there any other? Was Greg Olson there?
G-Reg was on our team. Me and Greg have a long history with each other, and I just have to use. So Greg was there. Vernon Davis played in that game on our side. Dante Whitner played on our side. Kyle Wright was on the West Coast side. Kyle
was our quarterback at Miami, so he was on that team as well. So some future teammates played in that game with you as well.
Oh, Prescott Burgess played with me in Baltimore Ravens. Tom Zibikowski was in there. Zibby played with me with the Ravens as well. Great boxer. Just all of us played in this game. LeBron James was supposed to be in that game. LBJ, we talked to him on the phone. He was like, man, I'm not coming to that game. I'm playing pro basketball. Everybody's like, man, get your ass to the game, dude. Stop lying. Next thing,
an NFL player.
Dude,
They said LeBron could have played wide receiver, like he would have been like Calvin Johnson if he wanted to play NFL.
easily.
Yeah,
Like he was supposed to be in the game. He was signed up to come to the game. We all thought that we were gonna, hang out and get a chance to joke and kick it, with LeBron. Like it would have been good because he was getting so much national notoriety through basketball. So we wanted to show him what was up on the football. We wanted to joke around with him, mess with him, and laugh because he's a great athlete as well. Great athletes love, when you're actually a great athlete who's not like upset anybody. You love other people there. You love that competition. It's a great feeling to go out there and compete with the best all the time. So we missed LeBron in that game, but he was supposed to play in that game. So this was a huge game, and to go out there.
Well, basketball, didn't he?
And that was my story. He goes, "I'm not coming to the game because I'm going pro in basketball." And we thought he was lying.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, guy has a Hummer and he's going pro.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, you talk about that camaraderie. You talk about the love, like what football brings into your life. All these great players are meeting in Texas. There's this All-American game. Some of these guys become your future teammates. You must, it must have just been like, an amazing experience in high school, and you're playing on national TV.
Well, what it taught me is that I could do it. That was the stuff that say, man, you can play at the next level with anything, and because I was, we beat them because I don't like like I said, I don't brag, but the facts are we beat them 49-3. We beat the East Coast beat the West Coast 49-3. So that gave me tremendous confidence, dude. Like, I just played a hell of a game against Reggie Bush and Lindell White, Kyle Wright, all these guys.
You knew you belonged. You knew you belonged.
And I was on something special, and I was just thinking like, well, you know what? In college, I won't have to do this. Like I had to do this here to help out, but in college, I won't have to play linebacker. I just did that here, and I said, man, thank God I had open field tackles on Reggie. I ran Reggie down once. Dude, when I ran Reggie Bush down on that sideline and grabbed and reached for his jersey, and I ripped his name tag off, dude, I knew at that point. Because, horse collar wasn't illegal back then, so you could pull people back. But when I did that play, I was like, damn, bro, like I can run. Like I had never played linebacker before. I just played defensive end. So it was very reassuring to be able to do some of those things, man. And like I said, to be able to go to Miami when they said I had to do it there also, because I did in the U.S. Army All-American game with Stan White, by the way. Stan White is the one who convinced me to do that. He was a great reporter in Baltimore as well as coach down there and a big time recruiter down there in Baltimore area, Northeast. But his name's Stan White, has that big radio show. But Stan White was coaching the U.S. Army All-American game at the time. Stan White got me to do that. And also a lot of people don't know that I played with Greg Madison's son. He was in the game. So he coached me in the Baltimore Ravens. So Greg Madison's son, Brian Madison, we played together as well. Victor Abiamare, who was a great defensive end in the NFL as well, played in that game. And like I said, like all of us just came together, and what that did was it said, man, no matter what happens in life, man, as long as you prepare for it, you'll be okay. Because I had a week to prepare at that position, and I took it seriously. Some people get in that position and think that dude, I took every snap serious because I had never played this position. I'm about to be out there, and I think that's the difference. The meticulous behavior that I put in because I in my personal opinion, I was in a panic. So now I'm taking everything seriously. I'm trying to do everything the correct way. And like I said, by me doing that, I understood that, man, if you continue to prepare, even if you're not ready, or even if you're not accustomed to a certain thing, if you're prepared for it, man, you're gonna be okay. So
preparation is key, and you learn that through football, and it has also helped you in life. And now you teach your son, Cadence, that same lesson.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I mean, if you play in that game, you're a legend, an All-American game right there on national TV, and you had this amazing high school career, and now you got Ohio State and all these big colleges wanting you to play for them, and Randy Shannon and Larry Coker, coming to your house. And so like when you came to Miami, who were some of the players, maybe former players or current players, who really inspired you during your career, like who, like, you know, maybe you watched them on TV play, or maybe when you were there, like you mentioned Frank Gore. Is there any other players that really inspired you during your career?
Well, you know, at that point, at that point, I knew I could play with them. I think I wanted to play against them to show everybody how good, I really was. I wanted to play against Miami, but, you know, and like I said, I was a great defensive end, so I had that type of confidence, man. You talking about, you know, always getting over 12 sacks a season. Every season I played defensive end. That's crazy. Every year I played, I had over 12 sacks. So I think I just wanted to do that because I wanted to just shine. And obviously the league was different. Then you could hurt quarterbacks. Like now you do the stuff I used to do quarterbacks, but they gonna think you're a damn terrorist, bro. You gonna get put on the list, bro. You hit somebody too hard like we used to do. So, you know, maybe that was a good thing too by me switching positions because the league had changed. But you know, I had Anthony Wolfslager, who was actually my brother from St. Thomas. Anthony Wolfslager hosted me, so he was the guy who I put my trust in. I knew I could play wherever I wanted to in the country. That wasn't a doubt. After playing that USL Army All-American game, there was no doubt in my mind. With some work, you know, obviously everybody got their own people, but I knew I could start on some people's teams. Like, I just knew. Think about Reggie Bush and Lindell White both went to USC and started. Like, if I go to the right school, I start right away, and then the rest is history. I just went to a school that had DJ Williams and John Vilma, and I had to freaking play that other spot, play the nickel package, you know what I mean, and find my role. But other than that, I go to the right school. If I go to USC or Oklahoma or Ohio State, like I was, you know, like those things, it's a different story. But like you said, going to Miami, what happened is I put my trust in Wolfslack. I didn't have trust in major people there, because I didn't know those guys. Miami's different. You know, for a lot of them, Miami, we don't know about those guys. It's Dade and Broward County. We think those guys are suspect all the time, you know.
I know. You got to watch your back. You know, you got to protect yourself. I mean,
so
you
we
know,
never knew, but once I got down there, though, Rob, that's what changed it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, oh man, it wasn't no Dade and Broward. It was like, man, like dudes was chilling. Like when I went to the people he showed me, like Mark, the quarterback Mark was there too. He was there. Anthony Wolfslager. I had Chris Napoli. He had went to St. Thomas. And there was a few guys who were there where they were just like there who were second year guys, and I just felt, you know, I felt comfortable. I was like, all right, man, you know, I'm probably gonna end up coming here. Then Kellen Winslow Jr. That's my guy. I mean, say what you want to say about him. I know he had some bad press, but hey, man, we're going to say a prayer for that. But, you know, sometimes bad things happen to good people, and sometimes we're in bad situations mentally, and you never know what happened and what type of place somebody's in, or if, you know, or what they're going through. So I'll say a prayer for him on his situation. But him as a friend and as my friend, as a person, I'm sure obviously some people may think differently because of what has happened recently of him. But the guy, before all this stuff happened, I just want to speak on his terms. Before all this stuff, man, just to who I know him as is a great person. Like, dude, he took me. This man was the greatest player in college, you know, sports. Like, I had just seen him national championship game, like, and he wanted to host me on my visit, which was special. Like, man, him, Sean Taylor, those are special players. And I don't think people understand to be that big and that fast and that athletic. It is special. So I grew up going to St. Thomas, and I got this guy, Kellen Winslow Jr., hosting me. Man, we going everywhere. Like he was my guy. Like, he, instead of saying high five, we were the whole night. He said, hi, too, son. Hi, too, son. And he's putting up two fingers, and we're just slapping two fingers together.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about Kellen, and I'll say this, like, he had a personality and a charming way about himself, and I had experiences with Kellen Winslow where I really liked him as a person, and it just seemed like he was maybe leading this double life with some stuff in the NFL, and we were really saddened to hear that news about him. You never want to hear, you know, Miami Hurricane being brought in a negative light, like being with the police and the criminal act. And I mean, it's been hard. I mean, I know some people, like, because I'm from the U, they try to throw it in my face, you know, about Winslow. And do you ever experience that with, like, people with, like, you know, they hear something bad about the Canes where they'll try to, like, diss you for it?
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, what's going on with you guys? You know how it goes. And And like you
Yeah.
said, man, I always say, man, you never know what somebody was going through in their particular life. Like I said, there's people in powerful positions that demons come through all the time, man. We live in a world of spirituality, like you said, man. I done seen some, and not to talk bad about anything, but in religious views and religious life, there's been things like this happening, and that's been covered up. So I just look at it like, hey, man, like they said, like everybody has their demons, and I'm not, like you said, when I hear those things, it just sucks because, like you said, I didn't know that other side. I don't know that other side exists. All I know is the person that I met. So what happens is now you get a little upset because it's like, dang, man, like I get that. It's when you do a crime, and if you at a point where whatever the demons come out, you do a crime, yes, you have to be punished. But at the same time, the person that you're punishing is a person that I know and a person that, like I said, he deserves to be punished, but at the same time shown mercy also, if that makes any sense. Because, like I get it, like, but if you're on the opposite side, the person that's on the victim side, then you just want punishment. You want retribution. You don't want that person. You don't want any mercy shown that person. You just want that person to just rot. But like I said,
what you're saying here is we want for Callan is to be rehabilitated and restored.
Absolutely, like whatever he has to do for his punishment, punish him.
Yeah.
But also when it's time to bring him out, let's help him. Let's help this person
and let's not shame him
because like I said, man, he changed my football career. Like I said, and I tell people like, man, some of the things we do off the field sucks because like even Randy Moss, Randy is my homie, but people be asking me stuff about him all the time, and I'm like, I'm like, why are you asking me stuff? Like, he's a good person to me. And like Ray Lewis today, like, they ask me these things. They're like, how are they? How are these people? I'm like, you act like they're a monster. Ray's like, like he's jumping off the walls 24 hours a day. Like, no, like all these people, they're respectful to me. I've never seen Randy Moss has never yelled at me or said anything. I probably would have freaking threw some jabs at him. You know what I'm
saying? He's always been a great experience, and let's talk about Ray Lewis. I mean, he had to be one of your greatest influences as a linebacker. He was your teammate with the Ravens. Can you talk about being on a team with him, with Ray? And I know he went through he was put in a negative light at one time, and a lot of people still hold it against him. But I think he's a remarkable man.
So man, he found God, and I think like I said, I'm a godly person as well. So that's why. I definitely I see both sides. I don't show judgment. I show mercy, and that's what Ray does. Ray found God, and he brought that into Baltimore. He walks around with Christ. Maybe he didn't before, and those are dangerous waters to walk without Christ in the valley of the shadow of death. Because this is the valley of the shadow of death, bro. And so when you walking without some type of scale, when you walking without that. Man, you're walking blindlessly. You're walking aimlessly throughout everything. So Ray brought hope, man. Ray brought a difference to my life. Like, he showed me that I can play through pain. Like, pain is not an object to me, man. The stuff he used to say, like he'd be like, damn, Ray, who are you, Shakespeare? Were you Shakespeare in your last life? Because I was probably one of the only dudes who could do his dance and joke and laugh with him and do that to him because I wore 52 at the U. And everybody knew that. Like, I was Baby Ray. Like, I could make the same plays. I could jump higher. I'll probably run a little faster. Ray definitely, he definitely will try to, but he know, man. In my top day, I was 4'3". But the difference is he could be faster than 4'3" because he knew where the play was going. So he didn't. Some of the times he beat me to the play, and I was like, "Bro, you just knew the play." Like, that's what I would tell him. I would tell him, "You just knew the play." So we would race to the ball often, and I loved it. Like even Coach Harbaugh would say, when I watch tape, I see both of you doing the same move at the same time. Like, it was almost comical. But that's because we went to the U. We both, I played a 4-3 defense, go shoot in the gap, middle linebacker too. That was my last. Obviously, Glenn Cook got hurt and they moved me from outside to middle. And that's what I should have played in the NFL. But obviously, you can't play that when you're on the team to Ray Lewis. Obviously, he's going to be the Ray Lewis. And I had to play the other position, the outside, which I was done playing outside. I love middle linebacker. I didn't like boxing stealing and hitting. Like I just wanted to make the tackles. I got spoiled my last year at Miami, so going to Baltimore, like I said, I learned a ton from Ray. Like I said, man, how to play through injuries, how to be more mentally sharp, dude, how to not just rely on speed. You know, like the man used to. I remember we were playing one game, and we were playing against the Chargers, and LaDainian Tomlinson didn't play. We call it the bird flu. All good running backs when they would play the Baltimore Ravens would be down that week. That means they had the bird flu. It means they were making a career decision. So LaDainian didn't play. Obviously, Sproles was up. So LaDainian like, man, I'm not coming out here against this defense, bro. We were hunting. So Sproles is up. This is the last play. We're in San Diego. At the time, they were San Diego Chargers, not the LA Chargers. They're San Diego. Ray looks at me, and God bless Junior Seau. So let's talk about Junior because he's a pivotal point in this too. I remember Willis McGahee made him spin around, by the way. That's another story. But Junior Seau is huge because Junior used to, God bless his soul, like I said, I love these stories when I used to hear them. That's a good thing about being in the position that I was playing with the Shield. But Junior used to say, check disco, before he'd do something that he wasn't supposed to do, like blitz or cover somebody. Like disco means disregard what I'm about to do. So Junior said I would check disco before the play and then just run and make the play, and it would be great. So we all joking about this, laughing before the San Diego game because me and Ray, we've been balling. Like, you know, I wouldn't even say it wouldn't be a Batman and Robin type deal because like we both play the same position. It would be more like Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne. How Commissioner Gordon taught Bruce Wayne. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was, though. Like it was like that with me because I didn't know how to play.
He took you under his wing. He took you under his wing.
Dude, he showed me how to be Ray Lewis. That's what he was doing. He didn't show me how to be Bart Scott. Like I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to be Bart or be the other position. He showed me how to be Ray Lewis. And so at that point, you know, I look at, man, he looks at me. We're on goal line, and I have nothing but trust because obviously that's the GOAT. So he goes, check disco, and I look to the right. Dude, if you would have saw my face look at him when he said check disco, I looked at him like, no, mother effer, no, not right now. That's how I looked at him. Like, dude, we're in goal line, Rock. So what happened is in goal line, in goal line on that particular play, I sent the first guy out to the flats to the corner. I got the first guy up. But let's say it wasn't a run play and the tight end ran like a drag across like a 0 and the other guy ran a 7 and the fullback ran to the flat. Dude, I would have had to cover either the 7 or the 0, which, come on now, as fast as I am, as fast as I am, I couldn't get to both spots. Luckily, I wouldn't say luckily, because this guy, he's the greatest of all time. Thankfully, it was a run. And he runs through the A-gap on a power roll play. Obviously, some people might not know what power roll is because they don't run fullbacks and pullers, but that's how we played in the beginning in the NFL. So they come out in goal line set, run power roll. He runs through the A-gap, beats the center block, smashes Sproles in the backfield, and gets up. And I looked at him, and I just told him, bro, I said, bro, you the greatest player. That's what I told him. Right? I said, man, you know how to end games. I called him the game ender. I said, dude, you end like if it's an interception, if it's the last play, if it's a knock a dude out the game because he was talking about he's going to rush for 100 yards on us. I remember we're playing Mendenhall. Mendenhall was talking all week. He's going to be the first player to rush for 100 yards on us in the game. First play, Ray Lewis sent him out on a stretcher.
Wow.
Broke his shoulder, collarbone, whatever you want to, snapped him in half. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. That's like you said, you want to talk about motivation. Yeah. That's what, and then it trickles down. You start to play like that. You know, there was times where I was coming across Adrian Peterson's face. I had that man holding his chin strap after the game, holding his neck, because that's what, when you're playing with somebody as dominant as Ray and that watches tape and that doesn't quit and that hits as hard as you start to want to do that. I want those same hard hits. I wanted to hurt people, and that's what the NFL. It wasn't about injuring people; it was about hurting people, regardless on what people feel and think should happen. Hey, people don't sign the military, and people say, "Oh, they should have military safety and take bullets out." No, that's how the NFL was. You got your ass hit. And we enjoyed it because that's what made you a man. So all this player safety stuff, people want to come in and say it's necessary. Well, let's make everything safe. How about we stop wars? How about we stop shooting in the military? How about we learn how to fight and we do punches instead of bullets? Let's make a treaty on that since we could just make something safe, and that's what I'm getting at. So what happens when the game did get safer, and for whatever reason, it put a lot of people out of a job because I don't know how to play safe.
Well, Ray says it all the time. He couldn't play in today's NFL, and you feel the same way because of all the rule changes. It's just made it really hard to like. There's a lot of penalties, and it seems like the defense really gets picked on with the penalties. And yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I mean, I played offensive line. You know, I mean, I used to pull around, and it was just like a battering ram. You were headbutting linebackers, and that was the game. That was the game, you know. And now it's like changed, so I can understand that's a little bit, you know, difficult to manage. But let's get to our next question here.
Hey, but like you said too, then you just adjust, and that's the biggest thing what I did, and that's why my son's playing offense.
Yeah.
we did. I'm like, buddy, you don't need to play no defense. What's that? You don't need to have defense. I'm gonna show you this offensive game.
Yeah, go play. Well, it's become like an offensive game, but yeah, I mean, but that's a great story about just being in a game with Ray Lewis and having that experience, and you're going up against LaDainian Tomlinson, and you're on the goal line, and Ray Lewis slashes through the A gap and makes a big play in the backfield, and you know he's a grab the bull by the horns kind of player. You know that
was on Darren Sproles. LaDainian did not play that game. He said he made a career decision. Sproles was in that backfield, and Sproles was a great back. Now Sproles, he was doing his little thing, man. Like they were down on the goal line, they were moving the ball. And then Ray just made a hell of a play at the end of the game, dude. Like it was unreal.
He was like a great little scat back. He played in Philadelphia too for many. I mean, he just retired. He had a great career out of Kansas State. That's awesome. Well, let's get to my next question here. Let's go back to talking about the U and the brotherhood and your teammates. Now, I'll just give you an example. Like during my career at Miami, sometimes you would rival guys a little bit, and you know you love your brothers, but there was like you kind of would be like rivaling each other, competitive. I'll give you an example, like me and Greg Olson. Like Greg was from New Jersey, I was from the state of New Jersey, and sometimes we would like get into a little bit of a rivalry where we would argue, and we loved each other though, and we brought the best out of each other. But that was like the kind of relationship we had, but we pushed each other to be great. Was there like a teammate at Miami that you kind of had that like relationship with, where you were like, you know, you maybe rivaled each other a little bit, but you also you maybe competed a little bit too, but you also got the best out of that relationship?
I think I was more or less their rabbit because I didn't really have anybody that could do what I could do. You know what I mean? Like, and you were there, like, and I didn't really know I possessed that stuff, so that's why I never really had a rival. But as somebody who scouts now, somebody who looks at talent, like, you know, and I'm not saying this in a bad light, but somebody who looks at talent, and I look back at myself, I go, damn, bro, like I had some attributes that normal athletes just don't have. You know what I'm saying? Like the high jump 6'8", throw the discus 197 feet, run the 4x100 meter. Like, you know, I had tangibles. To be on a 4x100 meter team, you have to be fast, you know, like, and so I had tangibles that most people didn't have, to be big, to be 245 pounds and do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. That's the crazy part, because most people who are that size can't, you know, they can't move the way that they should be able to move. So I was more or less the rabbit for everybody else, and I had other people who felt that way about me. Like, I know, you know, there were people like Romeo who would work harder, you know, like, and that's how I've been on everybody's team. Like, I don't think that I've ever had a competition like that, just because I never had, like I said, I just always possessed like you know, a 4.443 speed, you know, a 42, 44-inch vert, like, you know, power of to be able to move a car. You know what I'm saying? Like, so everything was more or less just, you know, I got to get better. But I think that, you know, at that point in time, there was people that Coach Shannon was trying to do that with me. Of course, yes. Roger McIntosh. Well, yeah, Rocky McIntosh, he was trying to make us push each other all the time. I was actually starting over Rocky in the Florida State game when I tore my
Yeah.
shoulder. So he was trying to do that, but I knew that I was like, man, I could, even if Rocky was starting, I knew I could start too anywhere. It wasn't like, oh shoot, like if I'm on the bench, I'm not good. I just knew that wasn't the case because who was at the U? There were so many people who weren't playing that was good. Leon Williams.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask
Yep.
you this. Well, we talk about competition on the field, but I'm also talking about like in the locker room. Was there a player that was like always kind of like busting your chops a little bit? And
So
like
that's what I mean. It eventually started to get to that because we started to become so close on the field. Like me and Rocky would joke all the time, and mess with the DBs and some of the DBs are strong, but they get me like, cause I'm not a wrestler, like them dudes just as strong. So they got Swayze too. But then you talk about, man, I'm finna put them gloves on, and everybody back off like, I don't get T-Mac gonna start throwing punches. But Rocky was like that with me, man. Rocky, Leon, but I think not to that extent. Like the people who used to bust our chops left. It was Vilma. Vilma was a freaking chop buster. He was just such a butthole most of the time, bro. But I loved him. I loved it, and he kept us on our toes. Like after he left, it was nobody else to do that for me. And sometimes that's when you get in trouble when you're a great player. You get complacent because you don't have nobody to do that for you. Like I'll give an example. We were like that for Alden Smith, and then all of us ended up leaving, and then he didn't have that example for people to bust his chops. Same thing with Ray Rice. Like when all of us left, sometimes you get in a little bit of trouble, you get a little complacent because you don't have guys there who.
Well, there's that dynamic in the locker room where you're learning about people and people come from different backgrounds and different cultures and all that.
Well, just to keep you too on your toes and just to keep you humble, because you know what I'm saying, like. When I was around Vilma, like even as many plays as I made in the game, if I was next to him, like I wasn't gonna brag about it or feel good about it because I'm like, dude, Jonathan Vilma knocked somebody out in the Rose Bowl, has a national championship. You know what I mean? It was just
we respected Vilma because of what he did on the field and his he was our best linebacker coming in. Our first
so if he
year,
said something, and he would say something like, oh, don't be smelling yourself. You know what I'm saying? But, like, nobody else would say that but him to me. You know what I mean? Like, after I left, everybody thinks I'm this Broward County gold teeth, 22 wearing, dreadlocks, big stupid wearing, with the turnover chain. All of us had a turnover chain back in the days. We called it the big stupid and 90 diamonds, So they just thought I was this guy.
When I got down to the U and we were in practice, I'm going down in my 3-point stance and you're seeing gold teeth on defense. I didn't see that jersey, bro. I didn't see that in high school jersey football. I mean, that was a little culture shock. And I'm like, these boys got grills and they're coming. They're coming to dinner.
and that's like you said, like we didn't, like after he left, I think that's what you need though. And I mean, we possessed that in Baltimore. Everybody did that to each other. That never left. We called it skin like an armadillo. And you had to take whatever, you had to have tough skin, we called it. And I think when Vilma and that class left, that's when the tough skin left. Sean Taylor, when all those guys left, Vilma, DJ, Sean Taylor, Vince Wilfork, we called Vilma, all those guys, and they ended up leaving. Alfonso Marshall, Mo Sykes. There were some leadership guys in that locker room that knew how to take it to that level and mess with you.
Was remarkable, during those years. That was it. Yeah.
They call it hazing. I never called it. I called it initiating, because that's what taught you the culture. That's what taught you how to act. That's what taught you how to fight. And they took that away from us because we were the badass motherfuckers. We was the youth, and they took it away. You know how they took it away? First of all, they started calling it hazing. Ain't no fucking hazing. That's initiating. Second thing they did was they made the game soft. They stopped letting us hit people. And we got out of I formation, dude. We were a pro-style offense. I'll tell you this, when I played John Madden back in the days, because my homeboy ran shotgun, I didn't come out in shotgun. I still came out of iron, ran it down his fucking throat. But you know what we do, because it's a copycat league and we a copycat school, everybody else, instead of us sticking to our roots with the Don Solinger, Art Kehoe shit, We go to this fucking shotgun shit, and we expect them to fucking know how to. Man, they don't know how to coach that shit. But I tell you what, if you want to run I formations and run a double team and have the fullback come off the lead, I guarantee you Arquillo know how to coach that, and I guarantee you Don Solinger has almost 7 or 8 Pro Bowl backs that can run through that as well. And that's where I feel like we lost our culture because we still the youth now. But there's two things that's changed. College football can't hit nobody no more, one. And two, we don't line up in pro-style offense no more because we want to be the copycat. And when they told me it's an NFL, it's a copycat league. I never knew what they was talking about. But once one person runs it, everybody runs the same offense. And it's crazy to me.
And then the spread, I don't get that either because pro-style is Miami football, smash mouth football with Edgerrin James.
Until we get back to that.
That's what Arquillo brought and Solinger. The two of them together were like a juggernaut.
Well, this is the thing, Rock. They want our culture but don't want to run the plays. So until the U gets back to that, either that or you change the culture. You know, you can't be Miami thugged out, gold teeth dreads. Change it. Change the whole culture then. We can go clean cut, guys with like fades with the parts in their hair. We can play that.
We'll be like Notre Dame. We can wear,
Bro, yeah, like Alabama, dude. Everybody's a basketball player out there. Everybody's slim, tall.
Run jet sweeps. We'll just run jet sweeps to the sideline. Don't even go into the trenches.
And that's what I mean. Like, but then you got to switch up your talent, the people that you bringing in, because we're bringing in the same type of players that won games for us in the 80s, 90s, and in the early 2000s. I mean, you got to bring in a different caliber player now. He don't have to be tough. He don't have to have an attitude. He just has to have great character. That's it. So you bring in somebody like that and who can run and who has wheels, man. I think we're in a different situation because, like I said, we're recruiting those players. And don't get me wrong, you do need tough players, but it's a different game now. It's a whole totally different game. So I look at it like that, and like I said, I think Miami football has not changed. Like I said, what has changed is the rules have changed, and the style of offense that we run has changed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally, and I just think the coaching has been an issue over the last 10 years, is finding the right guy. I mean, Diaz is trying to make it work, but he hasn't really proven himself as the guy that's going to take us to the next level. And I thought when Mark Richt came in, I was like, wow, like here we go. We went 10-0, like, and we were really playing good football, and then that just kind of changed. So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But now that goes to recruiting. That goes to recruiting. The biggest anybody can go down in Miami and win if you got the talent. And sometimes people pick up on other people's talent. You know, like maybe they picked up on the last coach's talent because you got to think none of the coaches have been there long enough to have a full class there of their own class. So sometimes you get other people's talent. You know how to coach that. Like Larry Coker.
Well,
Larry Coker was great.
Sean Taylor. You get a team with Sean Taylor, Vince Wilfork, Kellen Winslow. I mean, that's why we were so. That's
what I'm trying to say. He benefited. Even the year before with Ed Reed, bro. He had Sean Taylor on the bench.
Yeah.
He had Frank Gore on the bench. Willis McGahee, he was on the bench. He went to the national championship and won. And those are the things that people don't understand. Larry Coker was a great coach, but where's his recruiting? We didn't have great recruiting. Pete Garcia, that man was a genius. He put together the best recruiting class that they had ever seen. So it ain't the coaches, it's their recruiters. Because if you get great players, I could run dog sweep left. I could run dog sweep right. You know, I could run throw the ball up over his head and Andre Johnson over the top of your face. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's what they're missing. They don't have those.
I'll tell you this story real quick about, Ed Reed has become really involved with the University of Miami now. And I talked to Coach Solinger, who lives in that area, and he ran into Ed Reed. And Ed Reed just said about the players right now, they're not really, it's not what it was. Like, they're not as passionate about the U like when we played. So I think that's another thing that has to be considered too. Maybe it's not, I mean, you can't just point the fingers at the coaches. The players have to really, like,
Well, there's
for
no
their
tradition. Like you said, what is there to be proud of? There's
if the
nobody
players
there.
don't care, if you don't give a shit about the team or about you, or if you don't care enough to try hard enough, then you're not going to win. Don't you agree?
Yeah, the culture just has to change down there. And like I said, man, I'm big on that, and that's recruiting. That comes like I'm gonna go back again. That comes on recruiting, like people who want to win. Like that's a part of it too. Like, dude, I want to win games. Like that's why our
Well,
freshman year.
how old's your son? How old is he now? Is he? We
Oh,
need
he's 9.
he's 9. Let's get him on the recruiting list.
Yeah, I mean,
He's gonna be a stud. His dad's an NFL. I mean, it's genetic. He's gonna be. What is he gonna play? Wide receiver? You think?
yeah, he's gonna probably play receiver, or running back. Guys just,
Or
I mean,
tailback?
he's just fast. He's fast. So we just get him the
That's
ball.
Miami. We needed young kids now admiring their dads, admiring the Canes, and going in there and becoming the next generation of great players. And that's really the solution there. I agree too. So let's talk about let's change topics here. Let's talk about our next question. And this is a special question for me to ask you. It was from our freshman year at the U, and I'll just share this story with our followers. We were sitting at the table before a two-a-day practice of getting ready for a two-a-day, and me and you were having breakfast, and you just said to me, you're like, Rock, I know I'm going to the NFL. I know I'm going to be a pro football player. That's why I'm here. But I don't play this game for the money. I play it to honor my mother. Can you talk about that and your mother, who you had mentioned previously, who died when you were 10, and what she meant to you in your football career?
Yeah, so like you said, man, I had quit. Like when we talked about it earlier, where I had quit the game so many times because, after one year, because it was so hard. You got hit, dude. You had Bowling Green, Oklahoma drills. Like, it was head-up drills. So I was like, screw this mess. Like, I'm not dying of somebody hitting me to death. So I was done on the first year. Second year, I got a little tougher. I think I was 9, so I started at 8. And then the second year, 9. My dad brought me late. Coach says, I'm going to run the shit out of you. I go, dude, why don't you run that 275-pound man over there, my dad, because he brought me late. Like, I'm 9 years old. How do you, I'm late because of him, not because of my own doing. So I quit again because the coach was trying to run the shit out of me for no reason. And then thirdly, my third year I came back. My mother, she was like, you don't have to play. I was a great baseball player. Like, I could hit the ball in the park, home runs, bunt down third base line, get on first. I was just serious at baseball. Center field, I'm talking about I didn't even need any more outfielders when I was at center. You could put me out there by myself, and I would cover left and right and the middle by myself. And that's how it was. And I was, my mother's like, you don't have to play football anymore, son. Just play baseball and keep excelling at that. And I was like, no, Mom, I'm going to play because my dad, he used to split football helmets when he was younger. I wanted my dad to prove, you're a boy. You don't just want to be mama's boy. I'm like, my brother has my dad's name, Byron, so Byron Jr. He's like, 6 years older than me. My dad takes him everywhere. They do football practice. But I'm like, man, here I am. I want my dad's approval too. So I'm like, well, that's all I got to do. I got to freaking play football. It's serious. It's that simple. I got to freaking play football. So I told her I wasn't going to quit that year. And she's like, you don't have to. She died before my first game that year. And I never quit ever since. And so from that point on, football became a love. It became a promise. It became something that I promised that I wouldn't quit. So as much as torment, and I knew when it was, and I don't call it quit when I retired because I had done everything I could do. Like, after you've been to 2 AFC championships, 2 NFC championships, and a Super Bowl, you can retire. You can say, all right, I can.
Retired. You didn't quit. You never quit football. People that quit football, they stop playing in like their sophomore year of high school. What you did was a journey, and your mother was like your rock and your spiritual, in a spiritual sense.
Oh, it was the promise. And then like I said, man, I went back and I played one game with the Texans. I don't like to claim that game because I wasn't there. And every year I was actually there from preseason all the way through. Every year I was there, I went to the playoffs. every year I played in the NFL, to my preseason on through I went to playoffs. And in that season, I just came back. I just Brett Favre. I just came back on the league. I got Brett Favre the league. I came back out of retirement, and I just wanted to, I wanted to see if I really wanted to retire. I wasn't sure. I had retired. I was saying like, all right, I'm done. The NFL is changing a whole lot. I just want to just retire and fall off into the sunset. And then a couple of weeks had passed by, and teams were still interested in me. My agent was saying, he's like, dude, like teams still want you to play. And I was like, I don't want to play. That's what I told him. I was like that. And he's like, no, but teams still want you to play. And so I say, man, damn.
Like one of those things that's so much on your body, on your mind, and when you're ready to retire.
Oh, dude, another training camp? I was not trying to do that. I just was done. Like, unless they were going to let me come back at no training camp and come in the season like they do Suggs, which I'm sure San Francisco 49ers would have done for me. I'm sure the Baltimore Ravens would have done. But like you said, I had just been in just earning my right on the team every year. Most people don't have to do that. Like, I really felt like I wasn't Ray Lewis or Patrick Willis, so I had to play every preseason game. Like, I had to show that I was better than the man there. Like, some people, they don't have to do that because of their draft pick situation. Like, they can have a shitty camp, a crappy preseason and still be on the team. Me, I just felt like, dude, if I ever had that, they were going to cut my behind like sliced bologna. So every time I went out there full freaking speed, like I did. And so from that standpoint, like I said, I retired, but then I came back because Coach Kubiak, great coach, by the way, was going to give me a shot to play linebacker. Baltimore, what happened in Baltimore, they wanted me to play everything, how they did Ed, and kind of burn. You can burn somebody out. Like I didn't come off the field in Baltimore. I played defense, kickoff return, punt return. I thought they was going to put me on offense some plays, and that's just how it worked in Baltimore. Like, if you were a Miami Hurricane and you wasn't Ray Lewis, you had to play like early. Like they did at the Ed too. You had to play like, because they can use us without playing other people. Like, that's what they like. They like not to play too many people in the league. They want to only play a certain amount of people. So as a Hurricane, you can give them less positions where they got to play people because we're so athletic. So I'm out there doing all that, and then I got burnt out, man. And I go to SF, and then they don't want me to play defense. And
football is a grind. People don't realize that the mental, like not just the mental work, but the physical work it is, like on your body and the injuries and everything that comes to play.
Man, you're talking about running down full speed on a kickoff against another grown man who has to feed his family, who has to knock you out. So that's one thing you got to do. So it's not easy. The plays that I did on, that great special teams players do, like the plays that they make, great plays that those special teams players. It's not easy. It may look easy, but there's another grown freaking man in the National Football League with 4 player safety who has to feed his family, and his job is to block you to feed his family. So how could that be easy? Yeah. So that's one thing you got to do. So and I would go down full speed because I knew if I didn't, that guy was hungry, and I would make the tackle and hurt somebody there. Then I would be on one knee, and Ed would be like, T, you're gonna be all right. Just deep breath. I would look at him like, screw you, Ed. You didn't have to run. You didn't have to run down for your life just now. And
they're
then
not running on kickoff and doing your job. Well, it's that. Well, I remember you had a lot of impact on special teams, and you remind me of a guy they had here in Philadelphia. He's really big on the radio. His name's Ike Reese. I don't know if you remember Ike Reese, but he played at Michigan State, and he was like all world. He was a linebacker, but he played a lot of special teams, and he was, great special teams player. You were like that in your teams too. You played a lot of special teams.
And then from there, like you said, you're going from special teams to 3 in, 3 out. You're stopping them 3 plays because now you got to play defense, and you don't want to come out because you come out on defense, you're going to put somebody else in and not probably put you in. So then from there, now you go from that, you have to play punt return. So you went from kickoff, 3 plays because Ray Lewis wants to get off the field, and I do too because I'm tired of shit from the kickoff. And you play your 3 plays. Hopefully it's not a long drive. Then you have to play punt return. And then Flacco was notorious for this, him and that offense. 3 plays in, 3 plays out. And here goes Jerry Rossberg. Punt team, get ready. I promise you.
You get pissed. When you're the defense, you're like, son of a bitch, I got to go back out. I'm tired. Give me a rest.
Bro, I would be like, Flacco, you better keep the ball moving 1 one.
Oh,
You
man.
better keep it moving. You keep the chain moving at least 1 or 2 times. Right?
Yeah, to give you a little bit of a blow. I know, because that's a lot of. I mean, that's a lot of energy. So, all right. Well, let's talk about your draft day here, and let's see. You were the number 71 pick, round 3. What was that day like for you? Like, just like you talked about your mother, being an inspiration to never quit, and you made it to that day where you were drafted. What was that feeling like?
Yeah, this is good, man. You know, obviously as a Hurricane, you always gonna think you should have got better, you should have got more, but I had injuries, man. I was supposed to be a first round to late second pick. I had a torn labrum at the NFL foul, so they found it in my hip. So that's like kind of similar thing I want to say what a few people have in the league. I'm not sure what Bo Jackson had, but I had to kind of I needed a reconstructive hip surgery. So basically, my hip was sliding out of place, and I played 4 games with that in the National Football League to get a credited season back then. So after my 4th game, I decided to come out and have it reconstructively healed, re-sewn back into my hip socket, done back in there.
That's a big injury. That's definitely a risk for a team. I mean, that can definitely drop you back in the
Oh
draft.
yeah. So when I dropped past the second, I was hurt. Like I thought I was going to the Giants.
Yeah.
My inside, I was so hurt, and I was like, damn, is this what I have really that serious? You know, I'm like, dang, man. Then the next day came on, and it came, you know, a couple picks, and the next thing you know, they're like, the team, Chicago, it looks like they're on the clock. And I'm talking to somebody, I get a call, and they're like, man, do you want number 51 or 53? I was like, dude, I said, I'm 52 and 52 for a reason. I didn't know who I was talking to. I was like, dude, I'm going to fuck whoever up has it. So next thing you know, I'm just talking, and I'm like, man, I'll be honored to go, but I say, man, 52 is it. And next thing you know, the clock changes, and they say, all right, we're going to draft you now. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking I'm going to be the Bears. So I'm like, all right, I think Briggs was there, some little short guy. I'm like, dude, I'm going to freaking, I'm about to put this U on his ass. I'm going to beat 52 off whoever has it. You know, that's that's just how it works. Next thing you
Yeah.
know, the clock changes, the position changes, and the Bears swap down, and the Ravens come up on the clock. And I go, oh, shoot, this is what I'm talking to. I'm like, even if I fight 52 and win, shoot, I'm probably get beat up outside the stadium because he's the greatest player. He's the greatest player they ever
Yeah.
played. They're going to be like, you did what, the 5-2? So now I'm like, all right, I got it now. Now I know who I'm talking to. And I said, it was Ozzy. And I said, man, you know what? I said, I'll rock whatever number, you know, it'll be a privilege to wear whatever number on this defense, which it was. Because,
Yeah.
you know, I would have been cool to go to anywhere else and start. But when you go to a privilege, I was their first defensive player taken. That's what you have to really understand. They needed offensive players that year. And they took a defensive player in a high pick that was injured. You know
They
what I'm
took
saying?
a
Like that.
it was probably because of what Ray Lewis brought to the table, and he might have had some influence on you being drafted there because he
Well, they
probably
came and worked
you.
me out. They worked me out privately after the combine because the combine I couldn't do everything. The only thing I
Yeah.
did was I ran a 4.4 something on the hand, and then I jumped some crazy jump. Then I tried to do the drills and I was hurting. Then Mike Pettin came down and worked me.
Yeah, they probably wanted to put you around Ray and make you his teammate because he brings the best out of his linebackers.
Oh, it was great. I just think I honestly think that they knew that they had somebody who could work on me, and just like you said, somebody from the U. And man, I remember, like I said, the whole process was different because I didn't know who was getting me, dude. I went in there with Coach Fisher at the times with the Titans, and he says when I turn on tapes, I see glimpses of Ray Lewis. That's what everybody told me in this whole process. Like, because you take visits, it's just like going to college. You take college visits. I visited with the Titans. I visited with New York. They told me the same thing. I visited with San Francisco 49ers. They're the ones who told me my hip was messed up. But they told me the same exact thing. Everybody saw glimpses of Ray Lewis. But they were like, what's, you know, they were just like, what? And then, but the issue was that I had this hip issue. And
Yeah.
then everybody's like, oh, shoot, we don't know, like, what we're going to get if we operate it and what if we can't fix it. So
That's a
Baltimore.
big part of the drafting process, and I did see other former players like have injuries that really like affected that part of the game. You know, that is a big. I mean, they bring in the combine and they give you a medical, and they're just like basically checking everything. Right?
Everything, bro. They put you in an MRI machine for hours, not just one body part. They're checking everything, man. And so it was up to me to get ready. It was up to me to get ready to change my mentality. Like, okay, no more freaking sitting out because you're injured, dude. You gotta learn how to play through that. And that's when I became a different person. You're talking about playing through 10 games with my shoulder hanging out before player safety against the Steelers 2 times a year, hitting, hanging, and banging, playing in the playoffs. Like, I became a different man. I became something else because I understood, man, in the NFL, it stands for not for long. And if you keep saying you're injured and you keep not playing, you're going to be sliced turkey. You're going to be cut salami. You know, they're going to get you up out of there. And so I knew that. And I say, man, I changed everything because of that. And I started balling. I started playing through injuries. I started, saying, man, like, if I have something going on, I can make myself stronger and figure out how to continue to play. But those were the big things that kept you in the NFL back then. If you can play through a little bit of the pain is what they would call it, because it was different between injury and pain.
All right. Well, what was your best game as an NFL player? Looking back on it all now, your career in the National Football League, what was your greatest game?
I had a ton of great games. I think a lot of them. I just based great games I think all of them were. Like, every game I played, I made a ton of plays. Like every game felt like, some people have every game felt like I could make a highlight tape out of every game I played. It was never one game where I just didn't do well. So I like to obviously talk about the great, against the greatest players, because those are the ones that matter. It doesn't matter if you ball out against the Cleveland Browns and it's just the Cleveland Browns. But, you Minnesota Vikings back then, you ball out, and there's Adrian Peterson back there. That's something to brag about, or the Saints when you running through Reggie Bush, and that's my buddy, like, God bless Reggie. And he's been through a lot. He was, he was undersized back to being a running back, in the NFL, like, especially when we were playing. And they would have him come in there blocking us.
You're pretty close, Reggie Bush.
Well, just from the U.S. Army All-American game, I always had respect for him. Like, anytime I played against him, like, I was going to bring my A game because I knew who he was, Like, anytime I play somebody, he's a national character. So, and naturally, I always wanted that spotlight. So that's how I got it. I knew who the national characters were, and I came to perform anytime there was a national character. And those were always my big games, the ones, like I said, that I look back on, because I played every game was a big game. I made a ton of plays in a lot of games, but on my sheets, on my grade sheets in the NFL, it wasn't like college. It was funny, dude. They would write in Baltimore, sometimes on my grade sheets, you are a creature. They wouldn't even put a plus or minus. How you put A's or B. They would put you are a creature across the whole grade sheet. Like, it was crazy. Like, once my homeboy saw EJ was like, bro, you something else, bro. And like that, and that's when I knew, like, I was just a different human being. But I didn't feel that way my whole time. Like, like in college, you don't feel that way. In high school, you don't feel that way. But as you start to, like, towards when I knew, like, man, like, I'm in the NFL, bro. I do this. I play for a living. I play for work. When I said that, I say, dude, this is something crazy. And
that's your job. Like, everybody's out, like, working in, like, different places, like, collecting a paycheck, and you're getting a paycheck to be a football player.
Yo, I would yell out every day, man. I say, man, I play for work. I say, man, if y'all ain't out here and you ain't out here trying to win, you can get the hell out. If you walking, you're wrong. And I would yell that all the time. That Coach Vic out every time, bro. If you walking, you're wrong. Like, because I was just so excited that I play. Like, and if you're not excited, leave. That's why I retired. I wasn't excited anymore. I've never been cut. I played out all my contracts. Played a one game on one of the contracts because I came back for one game and retired again. I left the game. Some people, dude, I left on my own will. I could still play in the NFL. I left. I just did not want to play, and that's another thing where I think my story's a little bit. It's just like Barry Sanders. I just, like you said, the talent's there. I could do it. But I don't have. The game has changed one, and I just don't. Like you said, like when they told me I couldn't do some of the things I did that made me a great player, like, hit people and make them submit, crack back people and catch them, and they're not You know, when they run and trying to make a tackle and you fast enough to catch them before they make the tackle and knock them off their block. When you stop being able to play like that, that's when I didn't want to play no more. I'm a Miami Hurricane, bro. Like that's hit stick, bust stick, talk shit. Like straight up. And you telling me I can't hit stick no more. You telling me I can't bust a dick no more. And then I get penalized for talking shit. I'm done. I'm done.
Was there like a time were you like a big into like trash talking, like kind of like at players a little bit? Do you remember doing that? Like, I know they kind of cut
They
back
wouldn't
on it.
talk back, Rock. They would be like I would be looking at them, waiting on them to say some shit. But I know they looked at the media guide and saw Miami, Florida on the guide, so nobody
Yeah,
was really gonna say nothing back.
they were jaw back at you, you know, because you
It was
get one
like,
of these things. You know, I
man,
remember.
you didn't want to oil that up. But like I
Yeah,
said, man, I would do more or less like the shit talking, like, yeah, motherfucker. Like it wouldn't be like, you
did
know,
you ever
like,
say
man,
be here all day, or like we're coming at, like we're gonna, you know, like, I
bro,
don't know, maybe
I
like
shit
get
talk.
a guy or something. You know,
I shit talk after big plays. So like it wasn't just you know, some dudes did it before and after. Like we had some guys who could do that. But me, it was more or less after I cracked your blocks, I'm getting up and I'm looking at everybody on your sideline and I am pumped. You know what I mean? Like I am gonna let them know that this is how it's gonna be the whole game. That's the type of crap talking I
yeah.
did. I let you know, hey
I
man, this
did
is
some
for
track
60
talking
minutes.
to you. I when we played Virginia Tech our senior year, they had a real good linebacker, Vincent Hall, and I came up on him on like a double team block, and I was just like in his face, and I'm like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Man. I'm gonna,
I know Ben Saw. I remember him. He came out the same year. I
I'm
remember Ben Saw. Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm like, I watched, because you watch the guys on film and all that too, and they're, you know how they are, so you got to kind of have that, you know, mentality in your mind, you know, to really like dominate during the game. And I'm sure you had to get in that mindset before every NFL game
That's
where
one
you were
thing
like,
about playing linebacker too. Not a lot of people talk back to you, but there you know there was a few people that were pretty good. Like, you know, me and a fullback from the Browns used to go at it a lot. He used to talk too. I liked him, bro. I loved, bro. I used to like talking shit. And I'd come down and smack him in the face every freaking time, and he'd talk and be like, you. He keep pushing after the play. You know, kind of like a Quattrin Hill. You know, Q Hill used to do this. I'd be like, boy, Quattrin used to talk too a little bit. And that's why I like Quattrin. Quattrin used to, and he'd push after
yeah,
the play, and he'd keep going. And so that's how the guy, that's why, you know, going to the U definitely prepares you for, like, the NFL, because of the same thing. I'm like,
yeah.
man, I already
We did
dealt
it
with a
in
player like
practice.
you.
Well, we had a lot of practices where you go, like a practice at the University of Miami is like a game. We have referees at our practice. Like, we're going through scrimmages. We're going up the trash pal, scrimmage in the offense versus defense. I mean, you and me. I came at you a couple times as guard when I used to play guard. You know, pulling around. You know, you go up against guys. You know, it's like it's pretty intense. Was there ever like a player at Miami that was pretty tough that you thought like going up against on our offense during your career?
I mean, everybody was tough because, like, you got to think, even though I would hit you guys when you were pulling, that shit still used to hurt, bro.
Oh yeah, I know.
bro,
I know. We
brother,
coming around. Big Demo's. How about Big Demo coming around on we call it an O pull.
bro, I remember seeing Bane hitting. And I remember
Big,
just getting the best of him. Like, I think he dropped to his knees, bro. Like, you know, me and Beeson used to come in that bitch with bad intentions, like, because we didn't want to get embarrassed by y'all on the tape because the coach used to talk so much trash. So we used to come in there specifically just drilling whoever came around, like, because coach would talk shit. If if the lineman came, he was letting this lineman come around and pull and hit you.
oh
So we
yeah.
used to come
Here
down here.
in the film room. I mean, I
Man,
had this one play. We were scrimmaging on the soccer field. Remember we used to scrimmage out there on the soccer field,
yeah.
and it was actually Johnny Beeson. He hit me the hardest I've ever been hit. I was coming out on like a stalk block up to the safety. It was, he called it a assist, and he came on a down line and just decleated me. And I was like laying. I mean, the whole crowd saw it, and then I remember Mario Cristobal was our offensive line coach during that time, and we went and watched it in the film. He must have rewound it like just like just me getting the cleanest.
Bro, I'm telling you, bro, Beeson was notorious for that. So that's why, like, he was notorious for last second just striking. So, like, I learned how to do that stuff from him. Because he would come downhill. But it's different because I like to go downhill to make the tackle. Like, he was good at coming downhill, like, defeating the fucking blocker and then making the tackle. Like, if you put me in a blocker, the way I would make the tackle would be different from the way he would make the tackle. Like, I would run past the blocker, slide my arm underneath his leg, make the tackle. Ooh, everybody get pumped. Him, he would come down, hit whoever it is, knock them into the person who has the ball in the back, and then make the tackle. So, you know, Randy Shannon liked the way that, you know, how that looked. You know, he thought we should play more like that. So, like I said, that's why you had a lot of guys who wanted to play there and who had to play like that to play for his defense, or he wouldn't start you. You know, because not everybody would come down and do that, man. And that's why he didn't play. Like, a lot of times I didn't want to do that. But because you guys, like you said, man, when you pull in Andrew Bain man, that's a big man. And he squats a lot of weight. So it's like, not only is he big, but he's coming with some power that you can't even imagine. When he's running in the ground, man, he's squatting 700 pounds every time he's pushing off the earth. You know what I'm saying? And so you come.
It's a sting kind of feeling.
Yes, it's exactly.
Yeah, he would sting you. And, yeah, well, I always talk to Beeson about that hit. I told him, I said, you hit me the hardest I've ever got hit. It was just like blind eye.
I'm sure he felt it too, bro. Like, I know he felt it.
Love. He said it was nothing but love, man. You know, sometimes, and you know what? I had to get back up, dust myself off, and, you know, keep playing. And that's what football.
Because you got to think, too, and that's what I'm saying. Beeson felt that hit, too. And so even when you're giving the hits, you feel them, but guess what? You keep playing, like you said. Like, who's going to quit? You know, and like you said, like, that made us not quit. Like, that made us tough. Because I'm telling you, like, the biggest hits I've had, dude, I felt them, too, man. I might have been on the giving end of it, but you still, like you said, man, you still put in that effort. Like, you still put that pop in, so you feel it, too.
Absolutely. Well, now, this is my last question here. Who was your favorite teammate during your career, and who was your favorite coach?
Oh, man, you know, favorite teammate, I get asked that a lot. I think everybody could have been my favorite teammate. Now, whose favorite teammate I was, that's a different story. The reason why I say that is because I got along with everybody. You know, I went to 25-cent pitchers with you guys. You know, I went and played beer pong tournament with y'all. I went to Carroll City with Willie Williams. You know, I went to with the receivers and hung out with receivers and Nuke and all them boys. Like, I was cool with. I was probably the guy who probably if you talk to everybody, that's what I mean. You talking like you don't talk to everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I'm probably that guy who talked to every single person. Like, you know, the guy who can connect everybody, the glue. You know, there was never a point, and maybe that's why.
You could roll with a lot of the guys. I mean, do you remember that party we had called the White Trash Bash?
Oh yeah.
You remember me and you going shot for shot during that?
With the gasoline can in my hand.
You went up against an Irishman in a whiskey drinking. That was crazy. I mean, that was a fun night. I mean, I'm just like all that. Like, you could definitely hang with the boys, you know, with all the guys, you know, and.
It could be any group because going to St. Thomas Aquinas was huge, man. You know, like, I was never the type that had to have one particular set of friends. You know, like I'm not just I'm just stereotypical. I just hang around the guys who have gold teeth and dreads, even though I had that.
You weren't like, I'm just going to just hang out with the linebackers because I identify as a linebacker. You were like hanging out with the linemen, the quarterback, everybody, and you were just, you know, coming to parties and having a great time. And being a great teammate.
It was about being team, and I think, too, being an athlete. You know, I played 5 sports, so I knew how to – most people don't know how to talk to nobody but linebackers. But, man, when you play baseball, like, that's like talking to quarterbacks and kickers. Like, you know, when you play basketball, that's like talking to tight ends and receivers. When you run track, you know, and then also, you know, when you box, you know, and you know, you just play football. Like, you learn to talk to other people because of the other sports you had, the people that you were around, like the camaraderie. So for me, by playing 5 sports, I used to talk to everybody, man. I didn't have just one person because, I would hang with Eric Houston. I would hang with Daryl Sharp, and I would hang with Beeson. Me and Roger McIntosh hung tough. I'd hang with Antrell Roll. I'd hang. Should I hang with you? I'd hang with Demo all the time. Me and
It's fun. He was my roommate for 5 years, and we used to have those parties at the house.
Remember I used to come with the white tights on in the freaking elevator when bang.
That was a ball. That was so much fun. Yeah, we had a great experience. Just in college. Well, how about a coach? Was there a coach that you remembered? I mean, I know you had a lot of coaches, even in the NFL.
At the U, man, Andrew Swayze, hands down, bro. Like I said, Andrew Swayze.
He made it so great. He brought. I think about Swayze. I wrote him a letter one time. He loved it. I wrote him a thank you letter. Just for being a coach. Like, I just felt like he really did bring a lot.
Bro, because like we didn't have all the best recruiting in our years and all the best teams. But hey, I got an Orange Bowl championship while I was there. And then also, like I said, man, I just learned that, man, even when, the stats may say you're losing, you can still be winning. Now, even when, things didn't go your way, you still can be a winner. Yeah. And that's what I learned. Like, that's what I learned through Swayze, man. Just
remember what he used to always say, what you do in the dark comes to light.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That was one of his biggest themes, and it was, going back on what we talked about, that controversial topic with Kellen Winslow Jr., about his situation. It was very upsetting, for a lot of us, but we loved Kellen as a teammate, and we had an experience with him. But it is true, what you do in the dark comes to light, in that way. And he learned that through playing football at Miami and the consequences that are rendered. And it's like, but we just pray that he gets to a better place in his life,
Absolutely. And like you said, man, when you're out, Andrew.
He had that from he was coached by Andrew Swayze too. Everybody that came through the U, every player was coached by Andrew Swayze so if something happens in your life, you have to really take ownership. And Andrew Swayze taught us that. With that, he would always say, "You reap what you sow, and what you do in the dark comes to light." I remember that.
Yeah, and if you, like you said, man, and you have partners too, like you said, man, if you have something's going on, you having stress and you having issues, man, you can always talk to people too. You can always talk to people, and that's what I wish he did, because there's so many other ways. Like, man, a trip to Vegas could solve probably what he's going through, So that's why you just hope that you. Man, stay in your people's lives. That's what I would always say. Stay in people's lives. You never know who you're going to touch. Man, I call people on a regular because I'm always thinking positive. But I had to think that not everybody thinks positive. So sometimes you got to rub that positivity on people. And, that's what I think nowadays. That's why I took the whole interview and I said I would do it, because it's just like you never know. Somebody could be having that day where everything could transform and they can go all downhill, and then you be that person that talks to them and then spark them people or motivate them to get right back into where they need to be. So for me, man, I'm on that type of goal. Like, I just want to spark people back to being motivational. Back like I said, if you're going through something that's about to make you do something, or you got so much pain inside you that you're doing things, like you said, that you feel like that are demons, that are things that are inside you, man, I would just always say, you never know what's going on or what's going on in people's lives. But I would always say, man, if you're going through something, man, just call somebody and talk to somebody. Definitely just talk to somebody. Because what happens is when you talk to them, they might call somebody who can help you, or at the end of the day, they might be able to help you themselves. Or at least they know, so if something happens, they could be like, all right, I remember he, you know what I mean? It's just always good, like communicated.
Yeah, it was like you're talking about Junior Seau, that situation too. You knew him playing in the NFL, and it was like if he could have just picked up the phone and called a friend or somebody and just not gone to that place in his life,
And I get it, man. Like there's situations where, man, like I said, I'm not there, man. I don't know what happened, and there's situations where I'm in life where I'm like, man, I'm having a tough day, but man, I pray. Like, I get on my knees and I pray, man, and I just overcome that, like, that situation. And I call a friend. Like, I call my dad. You know, my dad's there. You know, I have my son now. So, you know, like, and that's some of the things that these people can use, too. Like, I know it's something that there's sometimes I'm hurt as deep as anything. But then I look at my son and just know, like, I got to continue to fight for him, you know. And those are things that we could use, too. Like, we could use that as motivation.
As big as a beast as you are on the football field and you're a monster, you are human, and you go through, you have difficult times sometimes probably. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure after retiring from the NFL, it must have been a little bit difficult, like not playing football anymore. Did you ever, like, really miss the game after it was done?
Well, no, because like I was saying, I retired from the game. Like, I never was cut, so I didn't really miss it. But it was more or less, what do you really want to do now? You know, you know. And then from that point, what I learned to do.
I got cut by the Buccaneers, so I guess it was a little different for me because I got cut by a team. But you never were actually cut; you would just stop playing. You know?
Yeah, I played out all my contracts. I even went back to play, and then I retired again. Like, the one game I played, like I played in one game, and I had a monster game, dude. I hit somebody so hard. He asked me why I hit him that hard after the game. Like, I ran through one guy, made a kickoff tackle inside the 20, slammed this guy in his face mask. I ran through their big wedge guy, punished him, knocked him on his ass, hit the other guy in the back. Like, I had a monster game, and I retired. I didn't want to play special teams anymore. I wanted to be a linebacker. One, that was the game Coach Kubiak caught a heart attack. So he caught a heart attack on the sideline. The game I came back, he was with the Texans. And that's crazy because people can identify that game because he's the only coach to catch a heart attack on the sidelines during a game. And that's the one game I went back and had a monster game. It was against the Colts, Texans versus Colts. And I remember it like it was yesterday, and I'm just happy, like I said, that I walked away from the game after all 5 surgeries, 4 concussions, playing 5 seasons after that. And then I walked away from the game. You know, like I said, it was never a point, you know, and there was never a point where I would just want to come back, but I missed the big hits, you know, that's what I missed. But they took that away, so it ain't, you know, I could fade off with that. I'm okay being retired.
I mean, you made your impact, and, you know, that's what we're trying to do here with my podcast.
Well, what I'm saying is that the things that I miss no longer exist in the NFL. So now I'm okay with fading off on into the light because, you know, the big hits aren't there. You know, a lot of the things we would do as far as the trash talking isn't there anymore, and just the way that the game was played, even the style of the game. You know, there's no more fullbacks, there's no more power roles to take on. You know, it's all single back. So the game itself has changed.
Yeah, but the thing with me was like a lot of coaches thought I could play fullback in the NFL because I was like a battering ram the way and I was pretty fast, but I was a little undersized for a lineman. So if I would have cut weight, and I did one season, I don't know if you remember, in '06, I wore number 46 and I moved to like H-back.
Yeah.
And it was like a tight end. But the thing was about the fullback position in the NFL, they phased it out.
They phased it.
I could have played fullback if it was like the 70s and 80s. Like that old school, like battering ram.
Oh yeah, you'd have had a position easily.
I would have had a position in the NFL, but the problem was I was like, you know, I probably would have had a lot of injuries. You know, they kind of phased that position out because they started realizing all the head trauma to the players was causing that.
But then you got to think too, like that's the people who, you know, who didn't like look at Lorenzo Neal, dude. So it's just certain people. Like that guy was a battering ram. He's okay. You know, Lorenzo Neal, freaking the coach who coached Frank Gore. I played for him for a little bit. Tom Rathman, when I went to running back for a little bit, dude, fullback, crushed people. He's okay. It's just and like I said, it's just how you hit, how you play, those type of people. And I think too, some people just go crazy because of the lifestyle. Like they become rock stars. It's like there's some crazy rock stars who hang and kill themselves and do horrible things to themselves, and there's some great rock stars who don't do anything, but they go to church it's just who you are as a person, what you do. I never blame what you do on what you did. Like your sport, your career did not make you that person. You were already that person. And then what happened is because of your fame, it enhanced the person who was already inside of you. And that's really what I think goes on because I've had plenty of hits, you know, plenty against the wedge, but I never think about harming myself, another person, like any of that. Like I just never would think of that. And I'm talking about I've had some of the worst collisions. I had 4 concussions.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, man, like the whole game itself has changed. And, you know, like I said, those are the things that I miss. But because those things are gone, because they're not there, I'm okay with just doing what I'm doing because there's like, even though I miss those things, they don't exist anymore anywhere else. So now either way, I have to relive through the memories, you know, all the hard hits on the sacks, you know, the big slams to the floor, the crackbacks, you know, the running through the wedge, the 5-man wedges. Like that stuff will never exist. Like to be able to take out a 5-man wedge, you know how good that felt?
Well, the Eagles had a guy, that Kevin Turner, who used to do that, and he ended up getting some kind of rare disease. I don't know what happened. He died young, but you can't just base that off of football. He might have just had some kind of disease, you know.
Yeah, you just never know, you know. And there's a lot of guys like the Kareem Osgood, like me, who did it, and then don't have anything. Then you got guys like Muhammad Ali, you know, he you know, from boxing, you know, he got, you know, he was shaken and that horrible thing that happened because of his brain. But then you got some guys who that doesn't happen to at all, you know, and then some guys
in like excellent health. I've also noticed you're in like top shape. Like, I mean, I see you on Instagram. Like, it doesn't really. I always remember you had very like, what were you, like 1% body fat at the U? I mean, you were very. I mean, very chiseled, and you seem to have been able to keep that physique even after you're done playing. Is there something you're doing? Like, are you working out a lot?
Oh man, you already know, Rock. It's the same old motto, man. You know, like I used to tell them, I don't do this for y'all, and then they would repeat, "We know, T. Good, you do this for the ladies," and that's all it really was, you know. Like, you know, because the whole point, Swayze and them used to always laugh. And I'm like, bro, I don't do this for y'all. Like, you think I do these 40 for y'all? Like, and I used to always yell it. I don't know if you remember that. And then Powder and everybody and Swayze and they used to yell back, "We know, T. Good.
We know what
We
you're
know,
doing.
T. Good.
We know you're pumping iron for the.
Yeah,
For
we know, T. Good. You do this for the
you're
ladies, just like
I
that."
mean, Flex Friday and
But
everything like
that,
that.
I mean, and to be honest, that's just my thing. It's not for the ladies, but it's to look good. That was my whole purpose of saying it. Like I don't, and you know, and nothing against people who like men, but I don't swing that way. So I'm not doing it for the men. So at the end of the day, I'm doing it for the ladies. So that's, you know, and like I said, nothing against the people who like that. That's your prerogative, whatever you like. But my whole goal of saying that was, I don't do this for y'all, man. I do this to look good for the people who gonna look at me. And that was the whole purpose. And since college, like, man, you giving me a free workout plan? And most people, and I retained all that information because it was a free dude. This man, probably the greatest person, the greatest trainer ever. That's like, man, you know, having, you know, Michael Jordan there or Phil Jackson there talking to you, and you ain't even listening to him. Dude, that would be the worst. You would be discrediting yourself if you didn't learn anything. So I got Andrew Swayze there.
How to train? Yeah, we
Man, most people ask me for a workout program. I'm like, bro, didn't you work out with Swayze? You need me to give you a workout program? Like after you train with him, what the heck were you paying attention to? You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I'm lost.
You know what to put into it. You know how to stay in shape, and you know how to be in top condition for football. Why should you change, you know, your mindset? Because sometimes I do see that with former players. After they leave the game, they fall out of that kind of pattern of training, and it seems like you have really, like, even stepped up your game even after leaving football, where you're training hard and you're working out and you're doing
Just being
it.
an athlete, I know that being strong is life. Like I said, your health is your wealth, man. And at the end of the day, the fountain of youth, that's the gym. That's how you stay young. Blood comes in you. That's how you get bigger. That's how you stay stronger. That's how your joints stay intact. You train. You know, rehabilitation is a big word for a workout. When you tear your shoulder, you have to rehab. Guess what you're doing? You're working out. You know, there was one point where I tore my shoulder and my hip where I couldn't move. Think about that. Like, you have no movement. You go back to a mental capacity of a baby when you can't move your arm because you can't move. Like a baby, that's why they can't walk. They're not strong enough. They can't move. They can't think that way. Their cognitive brain isn't working that way. Same thing when you have surgery. You go back to a baby form or even less because you can't move at all. then you finally start to move. Why? Because you work out. You rehab is what they call it. And then, you know what rehab is? I always tell people when you're rehabbing, how do you get stronger? Well, I don't call it weight. I call it resistance. I don't say, oh, I squatted 700 pounds, which I can still squat 700 pounds. I don't say I squatted 700 pounds. I just say, man, I put 700 on there because it's about resistance, not weight. So what happens is the stronger you get, the more resistance you need, which is weight. That's what humans call it, weight. I call it resistance. So the stronger I get, 10 pounds ain't going to be 10 pounds no more. I need 15. And then from there, I need 20 because the resistance is what I need. I don't need the weight. People get confused with, oh, I should be dumbbell benching 100 pounds. I don't give a doggone if that's not my resistance. If my resistance is dumbbell benching 20 pounds, then that's what I would be doing because that's going to give me my pump, that's going to give me my natural feel, and that's going to give me my natural strength to be able to bench and get stronger each time. That's how I go to 150-pound dumbbells, because I didn't start there. That's just my resistance. I remember at one point my resistance was 100. Then I went to 120s. Then I went to 135s. Then I just tried to go to 150s, and it was a dogfight. And I was like, dang.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's amazing, and that's very inspiring. And that's the other thing about my podcast here is like I want former players to hear these interviews and to be inspired, to continue to train and continue to work out. And I'll just share this with you. I got into a new sport. It's called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a student in a martial art, and I'm training. I'm getting close to becoming a blue belt, which is like the next step. So I'm very lucky. I found something outside of football that's like physically training, where you do grappling techniques and stuff like that, and it's been really helpful in my life. I feel like a lot of better energy. I'm getting in better shape. So it is good to have that. I know you like to hit the weights really hard, do boxing and everything like that. And it's important that, the training doesn't have to end after football ends, right? I mean, it's just like you never stop. It's for life. What Swayze taught us in the weight room at Miami wasn't just for those 4 years. It was for the rest of our lives.
for sure, man, you got people dying all the time from diabetes, from other things. Like I had this high glucose level, stages of type 1 diabetes. But I went in and I started training. I started kicking my butt in the gym. I started doing all that because I wanted to beat that cycle. So those are the things that we do as well. You find out what's going on with you. You do that. You beat that cycle, and then you overcome. And that's like I said, that's also going to health, going to the doctor, knowing that you got things. I wasn't a big fan of going to the doctors. Now I go to the doctors, get checked up. I found out my levels are certain, and I know how to correct and change things. But that's been huge too. Like I said, if you're out there, you're in the health, regularly get your checkups, know what's going on, and also, like I said, if the doctor tells you to do stuff, which exercise to lower your glucose levels, which gives you diabetes, you have to exercise, eat better, and exercise and go to the gym and do lots of cardio. So those are the things I started doing, man. Like, those are the things they said I need to do to stay alive. Like, I didn't avoid those things. I could have avoided them and then start insulin shotting myself in the stomach, but I'm going to die because I'm not going to shoot myself in the stomach. That's not my personality. Like, I don't like needles like that. As many taps as I got, I don't like needles being stuck into me and poison shot into me. That's not my thing. So I made a conscious effort to bust my behind and do what the doctor said. You know what I mean? Like, you could easily not do it. I could easily not do it. Sit on my butt, not do anything, but at that point.
That's a choice we always talk about. You got choices in life, and what you do and what you don't do, and what you do in the dark comes to light, like Swayze said, and it's even with training. If you stop working out after football, it's going to show. You're going to have health problems, and we've seen from some of our guys, who have had health problems after football, and it's good to learn that, to really stay on top of your game. So that's great. Well, T. Good, that's all I have for today, man. I just want to say thank you for joining us today on our podcast with Bullhorn Sports. This is a new podcast that we started, and it's really been special, just bringing on some former players in the NFL And I just want to say thanks again for being here.
Hey, no worries, Rock, man. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, brother. And then I'll be down in Vegas to see you soon. All right?
Absolutely.
All right, bro. Have a great day, okay? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. We're about to go get some grub now. I know he's waiting on me, so he's like, man, Dad, you done yet? So.
Yeah. Well, take care of your boy and have a wonderful day, buddy.
All right, no worries. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.